Hello, good morning and welcome to the Babungo Royal Museum. I am Protus Beaufort, the curator of this museum. The Babungo Museum that you will be visiting now comprises of 77 objects that we have displayed on 14 panels. This museum was put in place thanks to an Italian NGO, COE, who sponsored the putting in place of the objects and helped in the training of the curators who are presently working in the museum. The U.S. Embassy in Cameroon also helped with a sum of 5 million for the putting in place of this museum. And lastly, the Netherlands Embassy also helped with a sum of 10 million to do the completion of the museum. Then, as we see inside the museum, the first object that we will be visiting inside the museum is a royal bed. These are the type of beds that are used by the fawns of Babungo. The beds are usually double. There's a mattress spread on it, and then a leopard skin before the fawn sleeps on it. We know the leopard in our tradition is a royal animal, what we call the royal animals. We have the leopard, we have the elephant, we have the panther, the lion, the tiger, and the chameleon. Those are some of the very important animals that we have in the tradition. Then also here we have the royal spear, which is used for enthronement or used for running errands. The queens of Babungo use it for running the errands of the king. Then we also have the royal trumpets that are being blown. It's used for alarm. It's used for sending signals. If the fawn wants to go on outside, out of the village on an occasion, a traditional occasion, he carries it out, and when it's being blown, the villagers know the fawn is going out, or when he's being assigned to do something. Then we see, as in the museum, as we earlier visited inside the palace, all the objects that we see represented seated are representing kings that have reigned for a particular era, while those that are represented standing are representing retainers. I think here we'll meet a retainer who is standing behind the throne of the fawn, because in our tradition, when the fawn is seated, the retainer has to be standing behind the throne of the fawn. Then here we see the cap of enthronement. This is the cap that is being worn by the fawn when he's being enthroned, the day he's being enthroned as the fawn of the village. Then there's also the mask. There's also the mask that's being worn by the masquerade that brings out the fawn from the sacred forest. Then the cap that the fawn puts on. Then here we see royal necklaces. The fawn dresses in these royal necklaces during annual dances that take place here in the palace courtyard. Then we see retainers here. You see retainers, then we see queen wives. Wives that were very loyal to the queen. Then the queen decided to carve their sculptures and preserve in the museum. We see a royal stool that's being used as the riches of the palace. It's being carried behind the fawn during annual dances that comes up during the dry seasons. Then here we see containers. These are containers used in storing camwood. As we are continuing, we see warriors. These are warriors that fought wars when they were still intertribal wars. Particular warriors that reigned in the village who fought wars and won for the village. Then here is a dance bag. It's used during funerals. During the funerals of a prince, a princess, a queen mother, or a king. During the last day of the funeral celebration, like the present celebration that's taking place in the palace, when they will be concluding, that's when this mask will come out. Then this particular panel is made up of fawns and their retainers. Fawns and the retainers. As I was saying, those that are represented seated represent the kings, while those represented standing represent retainers. Then over here we see the retainers and the queens. A retainer and a queen standing behind the throne of the fawn. While the other panel here we see it's a royal table. Then over here we see royal thrones. And the thrones that we see here, we see a remarkable throne here. A throne made up of double-headed snake, which is the dual nature of the fawn. The fawn sees he's for the good and he's for the bad. He sees from behind and he sees in front. Then over here we see musical instruments. these are drums that are used during annual dances, like the Nikai dance that comes up in February, or the Benefouin, which comes up after 5 years, as the king wishes. Then over here we see the talking drum that is played. We play it during the funerals of a prince, a princess, a queen mother, or a king. Then we see the double gong and the single gong. These are all musical instruments. We use this wine pot in sharing wine to members of the Ngumba. Then over here, this is that's used in feeding the Ngumba society when there's a celebration in the palace. Over here we see pipes. We use the local tobacco. In consuming it, it was being used by the late phones. Then that you've just visited, that you saw, the masks were used, and they are still being used when there are funerals or during annual celebrations that take place in the palace. Thank you very much for having visited our museum, the Hello team.
Thank you very much, Protus Bofuan, for allowing us to get a taste of the Babungo culture through the museum, a museum that has brought a lot of people into Babungo, talking about our recent visitor, the Prime Minister of the Republic, Philemon Yang. That said, we will be talking about health, and we understand that healthcare, proper healthcare, is a big challenge in the northwest region, in Gogutunjia, and particularly in Babungo. Now let's go meet the coordinator of NAFI, the Gogutunjia AIDS fighters. Let him explain to us what the special NGO is doing to fight HIV and AIDS in Gogutunjia and in Babungo.
Hello, welcome to Gogutunjia Division. On our health slot today, we shall be talking about HIV/AIDS. HIV/AIDS, as you all know, is gradually taking the society on hostage. As you can see, we have many orphans, widows, widowers in our society today just because of HIV and AIDS. So we shall all invite Mr. Ngwang Roland. Good morning, Mr. Ngwang.
Yeah, good morning, Delphine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Ngwang Roland, we want to know the prevalence rate of HIV/AIDS in Gogutunjia Division and most especially in Babungo.
Thank you very much. HIV/AIDS in Gogutunjia Division is quite a worry, like we have in other divisions and health areas. In fact, if I can go by the last demographic and health survey that was done about 4 years back, the prevalence rate for the Northwest province at the time was quite high. It stood at 8.7%. And at that moment, from the voluntary counseling and testing that we carried out in the communities,